So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn and this is The Way to Be. Today's April the 27th of 2026. This is going to be the first swarm collection of the year. And I'm going to do a whole series showing every swarm that we collect and relocate and how we do it. Now, you may know that I designate my branches with Swarm Commander, and that means that the swarm should bivouac, and that's what this is, on a branch where we can reach them. And so I'm going to demonstrate a method today that is pretty easy to do, and it's fast becoming one of my favorite ways to collect my own swarms and hive them right in my own apiary here in northwest Pennsylvania. So first thing I'm doing is I'm spritzing it down with cold fresh water, and what that does is gets them to cluster a little tighter, adds a little weight to them, so when I shake the branch, they'll fall right into the bucket. And just to give you some details, the bucket that I'm using is a 7-gallon bucket. It's translucent, which is helpful because now we can see through it and we know where the bees are and kind of what they're doing. I'm also going to use a queen excluder. And again, I just want to remind you that I designated this branch a couple of weeks ago, just light spritzes with Swarm Commander, and it makes it a appealing place for the swarms to temporarily stage. Now, if I didn't take care of this right away, of course, you would start to see waggle dances on the surface, and they would move on and go to their final destination, and that's what we're doing. We're interrupting their plans. So I'm going to show you how to catch them in a bucket, and then also how I install them into a hive without opening the hive or dumping the bees, other than dumping them off this branch. And there you go. We don't have to get every single bee, but it is important that the queen fall down inside the bucket. And once we've got the swarm cluster in the bucket, we just put a wooden framed queen excluder right on top. Why would I do that? Well, it makes it easy, first of all, for the pheromones of this swarm of bees to pass through that screen. And if in fact the queen is down inside this bucket, the bees will not leave the bucket and won't go back to the branch. If the queen had been on the outside of the bucket, or if I missed her and she was on the branch, they would all leave right through the queen excluder and rejoin the queen on the branch, and you'd have to go again. Now, oftentimes I leave them in this bucket for 24 hours, but today I have a lot of bees on my hands and I don't mind playing around, and so I decided I'm just going to walk them right over and install them into an empty hive. That's right, a brand new beehive that I have, and this is just a great way to stock it. So you can see by looking at the top, they are fanning their Nasanov glands. That's why we see their abdomens up in the air. And what they're doing is letting me know, as well as the other bees that are flying all around, that the queen is inside this bucket. So that was pretty tidy, pretty easy to do. Now, if I were transporting these somewhere, rather than put the queen excluder on top, I would have just put a pillowcase right over the bucket and tied it with boot string. But since they're just going to another location right in the same apiary, I'm leaving it wide open, and we're not transporting them at all, other than to walk them about 40 feet to another hive. You can see there goes a worker that's got pollen on her. And when the bees swarm, of course, there are multiple ages and jobs represented. So they're not all foragers. This is the hive we're putting them in, Long Langstroth insulated hive, built by Beersville Bees. So I'm just going to take the bucket with a queen excluder, and I'm going to lean it right against the south-facing side of this beehive. And it is important to be in physical contact. If I just sat the bucket right in front of the hive, very unlikely that they would move in and start exploring this hive to see if they approve of it as a final residence. So by putting in physical contact, I'm going to get the bees that are here to go and inspect the space. I can't explain why they won't bridge an open gap and just go in there. Now, where do you think the queen is? She's underneath the queen excluder. We dumped her in the bucket, but what they do is they tend to climb up the bucket wall. They try to bury themselves in a cluster, and the queen, every time I have done this, ends up underneath the queen excluder, pretty much in the center, and the bees gather all around her. So it becomes pretty easy to find out where the queen is. Now, as I mentioned, if I were really trying to be conservative and wanted to make sure they do exactly what I want them to do, I would leave them in this bucket overnight. So once they settled and there was no more flying back and forth to the tree branch, which is the case, by the way, there are no bees left on the tree, I would put them in a nice, cool, dark space, leave them overnight, and then around 10 o'clock the following day, assuming conditions are good, I would walk them over and park them in front of the hive I want them to occupy, and they would do it. These are all the social influencers here, raising their abdomens, spreading their pheromones, letting other bees know this is their space, they're claiming it, this is where they want to be. And we keep an eye on the entrance. So the bees start to go in, and what are they doing inside the hive? I probably should explain. It is a brand new beehive, so not necessarily that appealing to a swarm, but I did put 3 frames of used drawn comb in there, and the rest of the frames that are in here, 10 total, Langstroth deeps, are just covered in beeswax and have never been used before. So it's very promising that so many of the bees are going in, and they are approving of the inspector's response. So the bees that inspected it raised their nasonoph, just like you see here. Their abdomens are all in the air. The more abdomens in the air you see, the more approval there is, and the quicker response you're going to get from your swarm. Now keep in mind, they can't all move in, at least they shouldn't, because the queen is on the bottom side of the queen excluder. So I am going to show you how we flip it over, and we're going to spot the queen, and we're going to keep an eye on her to make sure that she also enters the hive. The queen can be stubborn. She can make a decision and refuse to go in. And if that happens, the bees will all come back out and join the queen. So here we are, things are kind of quieting down. There's also a pretty sizable cluster right on the front of the hive, which is pretty characteristic. With a swarm this size, though, we have to be careful. There can be more than one queen. So we're going to carefully turn it over. Keep in mind, most of the bees have already gone in. If we wait too long to do this, they'll turn around and start coming back out if we have the only queen. And so as we carefully turn this over, look at all the bees still in the bucket. Look at all the bees clustered on the bottom side of the queen excluder. So I think there might be a divide here. More of these bees should have gone in, and you can kind of see that they're built up lower right there, which is a good indicator that the queen is probably located right there. Now again, if you want complete control, you would want to bring a queen clip and collect the queen and install her in the hive yourself, or remove her. There's the queen right there, lower right about the 5 o'clock position. We're going to get in closer. Now she's up here in the center of this ball of bees. Now the other thing I'm paying attention to, sometimes swarm this size you have multiple queens, and when you do, they aren't always nice to the queens that are also in the cluster here, and they may actually try to kill her with heat. So we're going to take a look at that too. I want to rule that out because this particular queen seems shy. She is not moving into the hive. Instead, she's trying to bury herself in the middle of the remaining bees, and she keeps pushing into the bars of the queen excluder. This kind of lets me know that I may have missed another queen. So it's important to watch them. There she is, scooting around right on top. We want to see what's going on here, but see how shy she is. She's trying to dig right in. But this demonstrates something else that we can at least observe. The queen excluder is working really well. And remember, it's the thorax that stops the queen from getting through it. Not the size of her abdomen, but this particular queen has a full-size abdomen, in my opinion, and it looks like she will go into production pretty easily. Because it is April the 27th, these should be the winter queens that survived, which makes them really good stock. And the bees seem to be holding her up, but we know that's not the case because the queen herself has broken away from this cluster of bees a couple of times, and she's just trying to hide. So we want to pay attention to the rest of the bees in the swarm, and we're watching them go in. There are not competing Nasanov fanning situations going on here. And that tells me that I think there is another queen that already went into the hive. Because if the queen were remaining outside the hive, we would see some other bees fanning their Nasanovs in competition, trying to get bees to come back to this queen. So what I'm ultimately going to do is remove her, but I want to verify first that the bees are not trying to kill her. So things are all quiet. We brought out the FLIR thermal camera, and I want to look to see, are the temperatures extreme? Are they really trying to take out this queen? We're at about 94 degrees in the center of the cluster on the front of the hive, and 98. It gets up to 99 and in some cases 100 degrees, which is not enough to kill a queen. So I think we just have competing queens here, and they each have a following. So this large swarm has actually split roughly 50-50, with half of them going in and half of them remaining out here with the queen that has no interest in going into the hive. Now, if she were the only queen, what would we expect to see? Well, the bees that are inside the hive would come right back out and join her on the bucket. But because they're not doing that, there's a definite split. I'm going to walk away with this queen and use her to fortify another hive that does not have a queen. That's the easiest thing to do. And there again, when we walk away, we take this queen away. What I should have done is brought a queen clip with me, because I could have removed the clip. And then we would see the bees in the bucket start searching all over for a queen. And then what we could do is convince them to go to the only queen pheromone that they can now find in the absence of their queen. And they would all have joined the group that's inside this long laying straw of the hive. So the entrance is pretty jammed up. Everything about this tells me that there is a queen inside the hive. And we're just going to scoot on out of here with the other queen. And we'll take this opportunity, of course, to point out that that's a drone right there with the large eyes that come together on the top of its head, male bee. A lot of people look at those and think they've seen the queen. They are larger, fatter than the queen, but those are males, and that's good genetic stock, by the way, if we had any virgins. This is the queen. The long abdomen is the giveaway. Look at how her wings only cover about half the length of her abdomen. This is a full-blown queen, and now you notice the change in sound. We've taken her away. And we moved them to another hive completely, and the bucket still has a lot of bees in it, and they took their time accepting this location. And this queen is pretty laid back. I will explain that in the end I ended up picking her up by the wings. I sat her at the entrance of this hive and she walked right in. As soon as she did that, the rest of the bees in the bucket started searching all over the place and they joined her. So what we had in this case was a very large swarm that had two apparently mated queens in the same swarm, so we had to split them up. Now, if I wanted to make sure that the bees in the long laying straw of the hive don't abscond, I would put a queen includer over the cover of that, and I would do the same here. Once this queen goes into this hive, I would put a queen includer on this landing board entrance, just to make sure that she can't get away from us and go do something else, because look at her, she's even trying to hide now. But as I mentioned, I ended up picking her up, putting her at the entrance. She went right in, and then there was no evidence of another competing queen with these remaining bees. Now we'll follow up in the days to come, and I'll give you updates on those that moved into the Langstroth, Long Langstroth, and also this queen in another residence. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video helpful.